Hi, this is American Perspective with Patriot Mom 007, and I'm joined today with Jana Jackson. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you for having me. I have to tell you, it's just an honor to be here.
Thank
you so
sweet.
much.
So Jana is really sweet.
You.
So I haven't known Jana very long. I have seen her around town, and I met her several months ago, and I knew that once I started this here in the studio that I wanted to have her on before the primary on August 2nd because she's running for Arizona State House in LD4. Tell us where that is in town.
In town, Paradise Valley, North Scottsdale, North Phoenix. A very large area. I think it's the second largest precinct, LD, in the state of Arizona.
Okay.
The second largest one, so it's very large.
So
all of
what
Paradise
you're going to be
Valley.
doing is going to be affecting a lot of people, and what they've been doing, good or bad, we'll hear later, has also been affecting a lot of people. It might be negative, though. So before we jump into all of the details of that, I just want to say, so I'm a mom of two boys. They're 17 and 20, and they're challenging for sure because the teenage thing is a real thing, I guess, and I know it now. I didn't think when I was a teenager I didn't really get it, but this is what happened. So it's challenging. So Jana, though, I'm feeling lazy right now because she just shared with me she has 7 children, 4 with special needs. They're adult children, right?
Yes. I adopted 4 children.
And she adopted them.
Yes, I adopted 4 children that have special needs, and then I have 3 of my own. Well, I have 7.
Right.
So we have 7 adult children, and I have 2 grandchildren.
Wow,
Yes.
congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm sort of missing the grandchild because I don't have any grandbabies.
Right.
My father was a homicide detective.
Yes, I saw
My
that.
son is a homicide detective, and my grandson is a police officer. So it's a little different now that I have adult grandchildren rather than having that baby.
Right,
I want the baby. My children aren't cooperating, but I want the baby.
Of course.
Yes.
So to Jana's point about her family and serving in law enforcement, different generations. So Jana too serves other people. She's been a teacher, and she is a teacher currently of science in one of our school districts. Which one?
Yes, in Phoenix Union High School District.
Right. So my point here is, since we're meeting her, really for the first time, I didn't get to talk to her much at the event that we were at, is that this is who is one of our candidates in Arizona. And if you're watching this a couple days before primary, I hope you listen to what she has to say because she is a pretty extraordinary person. So I really like to showcase some of that so you guys know how to vote on Tuesday. So let's talk about the candidacy.
Okay.
So let's just start with the obvious question I don't usually ask, but what made you want to run?
I've been in education all my life. And when I was very young, I'd say 7 or 8 years old, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I used to make up games, and I would make the neighborhood kids play school with me and play library. I was a Sunday school teacher, and I was just honored. I was so excited to be the Sunday school teacher, even though they gave me the 4-year-olds, and I was really like babysitting in church, but it didn't make any difference. To me, it was Sunday school teacher.
Right.
So I've always wanted to be a teacher. For 28 years, I have been in education. Wow. I have worked for NASA as an aerospace education specialist.
Also very impressive.
I've worked with NAVC, which means I actually wrote PPP and task-based curriculum for men going off to war. Wow. I've worked in the state capitol writing bills for House of Representatives as well as senators. Wow. Senator Diaz de la Portilla, Senator Diaz, who is now in Washington, D.C., Representative Sorensen and Representative Rayson, learning how to write and how to teach them how to prepare the bills. Wow. So all my life I've taught. And in school. I've taught from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So I've always wanted to teach. But because of the way things have now changed, in the past 4 to 6 years, education has changed. Right. And at my age, I need to be able to change with it, and I need to be able to give to our children my expertise as to how I can actually help our state as well as help our country.
Instead of not just the individual kids in her class, which she's been doing for all those years.
Yes.
So, I mean, what I hear you saying is that you're ready to step up and help more broadly in our state and in your legislative district.
Yes.
Like a lot of other people that have been on with us lately, who you may not have heard of or heard from, if they don't have $3 million, which I never understand this part, but if they don't have $3 million, then you don't know who they are, which is weird, because I know Jana's got door knockers probably.
Oh,
and
yes.
people going around and you're at meet and greets all the time. You have been for months. So I encourage people to still find these happening around town in your city too before your primaries and get to know your candidates. It's really important you know who you're voting for, and then ask them questions, because when somebody comes up to you in a house or a facility, they have an event, they can talk to you, right?
Well, of course they can talk to you, because it's very, very important to know the person.
That's right.
Like I was saying, education is so important. What we have to realize is everyone has gifts, and how you pay back that's the purpose of running. A representative, it's a service job. That means that I have served children and people all my life. Right. I've gone to another level to serve. And sometimes we forget that it's a service job. It's not a job that you're going to be on Life magazine. Right. It's not a job that you're going to be on television every week. Right. It's a service job. And what we do is we serve the people. My father in Chicago started an organization called the Guardians Association. And now it's a national organization, even though it started very small in Chicago. Amazing. And my dad would say, you have to live with the people you serve. So as he was passing, he said, you have to live with the people that you serve, Jana. And that means that I have to be able to serve the people in a different capacity. So teaching in school is one thing, and writing curriculum for representatives and senators is another, and writing curriculum for men going off to war is another. Right. But being able to now at my age serve the community.
And wisdom and experience.
Wisdom and experience.
Comes with the age, yeah. It's not really just the age. It's the other stuff that
goes with it. Yes, I need to serve the people. I need to continue, and that's why I'm running. I'm running to serve, because people don't realize, but the child that is in 3rd grade right now will vote in 10 years.
Right.
So I'm not running for today. I'm running for them for the 10 years. We have to be able to take our state and make sure that our state is stable, that we can sustain, and then therefore our children and grandchildren will continue to carry on our state as being a number 1 or in the top 10.
Not number 48,
but not number 48 in reading.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is I want to be able to be a part of that. And at this stage of my life, I'm ready to give my life every day to work in the House.
And you already have been on the campaign trail.
On the campaign
really
trail
hard.
to say, I will work for you. I will serve you. That's the purpose of me running. I will serve you.
That's amazing. So instead of teaching science, right? Instead of teaching science to 32 or 36 kids in a classroom.
Let's make it 150.
150. She will be impacting things like, for our school system from above, things like CRT, which were brought in sneakily. My son's in high school right now, so I am aware of it. Luckily, my son does not subscribe to any of the ridiculousness that other kids are led to believe. So she's going to be helping to correct things at the top level. She can't, I think, let me get this straight. My understanding, because Sherry Sapir is running for superintendent of public instruction. She's been on the show. She's a super good friend. I love her to death. Vote Sherry. You would be working with her at some capacity at some point to collaborate and coming up with a way to do a CRT, but you're not able to necessarily tell people, the teachers inside the classroom, what they can teach lesson plan wise, but you can do away with the big broad programs like that. Is that about it?
As working in the House of Representatives, my main goal is to write meaningful bills. So if you write a meaningful bill, that bill, especially when it comes to the Education Committee, will then go to the governor's office. So we're also looking at the governor, as well as looking at the Department of Education. So a meaningful bill is a bill that you'll be able to actually attach money to. Once that money is attached to the Appropriation Committee, then the bill can pass. If it passes, then it can go both to the governor's office as well as to the Department of Education.
And how would you tackle CRT in a bill? How does that look like?
CRT, I always tell teachers, because when I was taught by Gloria Latson Billings, and when you do your research, she's the one who changed the word and coined it differently. So CRT, critical race theory, in the 1980s is different from critical race theory in the 1940s. So, so when she changed it, yes, and that's
nobody
what
else has either.
Well,
so tell us, please.
Yes, in fact, I was looking at it was on one of the shows. It was one of the shows on television, and the person was actually talking about the original. Most people don't talk about the original because they're not researchers. I'm a researcher. That's what I spent my time in while I'm working on my doctoral degree. So CRT was basically developed by a lady by the name of Gloria Gillette's and Billings, I would encourage people to go and Google her and find out exactly what is that CRT that we see in our classrooms. In the 1940s, CRT was developed. People don't realize it, but you have W.E.B. Du Bois in the 1920s, who actually wrote and first time wrote the word critical race theory. That's a different one. And then we have the Marxism that actually started
through the years.
Yes, it's through the years.
And yes, all right.
So she took that concept and she changed it and she put it and embedded it within curriculum, and it's embedded every place.
Right.
So if
we
you're
call
talking
it SEL
about
here.
No, the SEL
is that a completely different version of it? Is it?
That's not completely different. That is a part of it.
Okay, because we have SEL in Arizona. In my son's school, they send out about 20 emails a week on SEL and how the kids could benefit from it. Of course, I don't read them because that's ridiculous.
Yes.
I don't need them to tell me how to emotionally handle my child. Like, I do need them to learn math, though, and handwriting skills are very lacking, so they need to work on that in our schools, but that's just my opinion. Sorry.
But, that's the research part of me that's coming out. Most people don't even understand what it is I'm saying, but to parents, what I want to say is critical race theory is very, very dangerous.
Yes.
You have magazines such as a Scholastic magazine that's in every school.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they had an article that was entitled Black Lives Matter. And that was actually put throughout the United States for children to read. So there are things that are already embedded within our curriculum. The job of a legislator is not to take those things out. It is to write meaningful legislation so they don't go back in.
Okay.
And that's what I want to do. I want to write meaningful legislation that will protect our children. Not just our children thinking, oh, what about the taxes and what about the businesses? Well, all of that's about our children.
Right.
If we don't get a handle on what's happening in our state, and if we don't look forward, where is this going to take me? Where is this going to go? It all rests with our children. And that's me. That's what I'm running for.
So you're looking ahead for the good of all instead of super narrow focus like a lot of people do these days because everybody has a short attention span. Thank you, Facebook.
We have so many people in the house.
And Xbox.
Yes.
And you want to direct your energies now toward fixing things and helping to improve things at the legislative level.
Yes.
That they stick.
Yes.
And that our kids will ultimately benefit.
Yes, because if you think of all the people that are in the house, we are not supposed to all be the same.
Right.
We are supposed to be different.
Right.
And if you have different people with different ideas working together, that's when we make strong, meaningful legislation.
Right.
That's what I want to do. And I'm very different.
So if I were in her district, I would vote for Jana Jackson. I'm not. She's not in my district, or I would have voted for her when I voted the other day.
Yes.
But if you're in her district, you might want to consider voting for Jana Jackson because you just heard some probably new information that I didn't know, and I'm a parent. So it's important, I think, that people who are going to take over a position of somebody who's been in for so many years, who already let this stuff get into our schools, by the way, has a vast knowledge from childhood to literally writing a legislative bill, and has done so many times and helped other people do it, because at least we'll know when she gets into the job, she'll instantly be doing her actual job and getting the salary versus a learning curve of 2 or 3 years, making your salary and then pretending you're doing something the last year to get reelected for the next session.
And when you talk about salary, most people don't understand this. I'm a teacher, and I live as a teacher. But the people that are in the House of Representatives, they only make $24,000.
Right.
So $24,000 is probably less than a lot of people actually pay in taxes. So the job is not a job, it's a service job.
Right.
Just like teaching is a service job. You don't go into teaching because of the money you're going to make.
Right.
And the House of Representatives, to represent the people, it's an honor. For me, it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to stand. It's an honor to be able to stand for them. And not for what I believe. It is an honor to be able to take what the people in our state want.
Right.
And then to actually be able to be a part of making it happen. As a teacher, that's what I do. I teach in North High School. I teach. I have 150 students every semester.
Wow.
That's 300 students a year.
Wow.
And I've been teaching there for 8 years. And my students come back and they say things to me like, Miss Jackson, I have children now. And I look at them and I say, but I remember what you taught. It's because my job as a teacher is a service job, and working for the House is a service job. I take into consideration when I write my curriculum for my lesson plan,
right,
where the parents are, where the students are, where the great-grandparents and grandparents are. I teach them about Arizona, why it's important for us to be able to look at science in Arizona. We should be able to name every mountain.
Right.
You should be able to know why the blacktop is black in some areas and it's gray in other areas.
And you're not
but
from
that's
Arizona.
My city.
She's from Chicago,
from
Illinois.
Chicago. I've been here 14 years.
14? So I've been here 23, and she obviously, I already can tell from that statement, knows a lot more than I do.
I'm a teacher. I'm a science teacher. What can I say?
But we all have Google. Like, we should probably start educating ourselves at least once a weekend, look up a new fact about Arizona, or at least where you live, right? I think that would make sense. We should never stop educating ourselves.
That's right. You're going to grow and grow and grow. At least I know that, everything. You would be surprised what you can learn from children, from our children.
Right,
From our grandchildren. We
of
we
course.
learn all the time.
I don't have any yet, and please, boys, if you're listening, don't. You're 20 and 17. You have several years to enjoy your life. So mom's not ready for grandmahood yet.
Yes.
But so I'm excited to hear how you're going to tackle the job, and I think our audience is pleased to also get an explanation, because a lot of times people say they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but they never tell us how they're going to actually do it, or even the process, the legislative process, which I'm not super familiar with. I'll say that. I'm learning, though. It's new to me, but I'm learning. So in addition to the CRT, what else do you see? We have a lot of violence in the schools. That's a big problem. In your district, what are some of the one or two major school education issues that you want to make an impact on?
One that I want to make an impact for the state is being able to look at how we put our officers in our schools. Now, by me being the daughter of a homicide detective, the mother of a homicide detective, and the grandmother of a police officer,
awesome.
my view, and teaching in education for 28 years, my view of what happens in school with discipline is very, very important. And I really and truly believe that we need to look at giving more money to the police department, but not in the same areas. Our schools deserve police officers that are trained to be in our schools.
Right.
It's hard for a police officer to go and investigate a murder, and then after that go and give a traffic ticket, and then after that go to school because we have just had a gang fight in our school, or a student in Scottsdale High School has just been in the bathroom being beat by 3 other high school students.
I saw a video like that the other day from a school.
Yes.
Actually, they put out a kid getting whooped on by a bunch of other kids, and
we need a different kind, and so I am very much in favor of us making a parallel to what is done in our community colleges. Our community colleges have police department, and that police department is very different. And I can also see this police department being housed in the Department of Education with Sherry, rather than being in
separated out. So they're a completely different entity, and they don't really work comprehensive. So my son is in high school, the other one's graduated, and so I unfortunately have had some relationships with some of the campus officers, and ours were good. Yes. We were down in Cave Creek District. Yes. Officer Penner, if you ever watch me, you were great. He helped my son a lot, my first son. And it's important because these officers cannot just be a regular beat cop dealing with random things all day and then have to somehow navigate teenagers on 2 days a week or something, and not have relationships with teachers or understand who the kids are. But the actually officers we've had in a couple schools, they've actually known the kids.
Yes.
So I like a lot that is a focus. And do you think something like that is something that you could move forward?
Of course, because we already have it in place. Because the community colleges here in our state, right here in Phoenix, the police officers right now on the college campuses already have the structure in place.
So we could just do it to the
So we actually have we actually have a model already in place.
That's right.
That's one of my visions, and because I'm in high school, I have seen the gang fights in the school.
Yes.
I have heard of the children. This is funny. Children building a ghost gun and failing science. See, for me, that's like an oxymoron. I mean, you build a ghost gun and then you use the ghost gun and you shoot a student in the leg, and then the student gives you counterfeit money that he actually knows the difference between counterfeit money and real money. Well, these are skills that our kids have.
Is that a real scenario?
It's a real scenario.
That actually happened with kids in the school?
Yes, it actually happened in the school. You can Google it.
I thought it was an example, an extreme example for a minute. So sorry.
We're talking the truth.
I found it fascinating, but I thought, oh, well, she's just giving it a
Jana's telling the truth.